Hello there, what is going on everyone? Today we're talking about the Ghost Crew Spectre Cell finally showing up in Star Wars Legion. This was the highlight and sort of the end cap of all of Mini-Stravaganza, and we're going to talk about this. There's not much known, but there's actually a pretty decent amount known from Star Wars Rebels and its influence in Star Wars Legion and how this unit might look, whether it's a single unit or comes in multiple forms. We're going to talk about all of that in today's video. Plus, we'll be doing another Life Day giveaway at the end of this video. What is a Life Day giveaway? We do 12 giveaways. There's 12 times throughout the month of December where we're doing giveaways, and somebody is going to win. Now, if you want to have a chance to enter to win any of the Life Day giveaways we're doing, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. It's as simple as that. Anything that goes unclaimed after 30 days will roll over into Patreon giveaways, so patrons have extra chance to get cool stuff. And it's as simple as that. We'll stay tuned to the end. Watch my videos to the end, and so you won't miss out on a chance to find out if you win something cool. So let's talk about the Ghost Crew, because at the end of Mini-Stravaganza, they teased this art piece talking about family. And so now we know the Ghost Crew is coming. I mean, the last time I talked to Will Schick, he also was, teasing these guys. It's clear to me that these guys have been in the works for a very long time. And I think Star Wars Rebels is one of the most beloved shows in Star Wars, and I think one of the most universally liked and welcomed as just being an overall fantastic show. And I think we all have a soft spot in our hearts for all of these characters, so it's very exciting. Or I could be totally wrong, and maybe this is just teaser art to say that Loth Wolves and Loth Cats are coming to Star Wars Legion. And oh yeah, there's some humans there in the picture, but this might have just been a clever way to put wolves in Star Wars Legion. If Dave Filoni has anything to do with it, then that's exactly what's happening here. But my money is probably on the crew of the Ghost, the stars of the show for Star Wars Rebels. So this is going to be an interesting one. So I want to break down a lot of what we do know and what we can speculate from. We do know that there are already some characters from Star Wars Rebels in the game now, right? We have Sabine. We've had Sabine for a very long time. Sabine was, one of the early characters added to Star Wars Legion all the way on back under Fantasy Flight. She's also recently seen a rework, along with, a lot of other characters, upgraded art, and, she's got a full set of command cards also, and she's also got other Mandalorians from Star Wars Rebels that also work with her. We've got Hondo, who is often appearing in Star Wars Rebels. We've got Agent Kallus, who also was from Star Wars Rebels, and both, there's also room for him to kind of grow out the mutton chops and join the Rebels. And we have the Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum version, which was the first version of Ahsoka to join Star Wars Legion, which was also first seen in Star Wars Rebels. Now, all of these are, it's clear that Star Wars Rebels has been an influence and a driving force and a very popular policy, or very popular show, a very popular kind of sub-IP, I should say, or property. I don't know why I said policy, but Star Wars Rebels has been integral to the growth of Star Wars. I think a lot of people kind of saw it early on, fell in love with it. I didn't expect it to be much, and I fell in love with it. I've always loved the show. I do have some predictions on when the Ghost Crew come, when Spectre Cell comes, or whatever they're going to call them. Let me know what you think they're actually going to call the expansion. Do you think it's going to be the Ghost Crew? Do you think it's going to be Spectre Cell? Do you think it's going to be, or some kind of take on family or something like that? Because there's a lot of different ways they could do it, or maybe they'll give it a quote from the show or something like that. There's a lot of ways they can approach this, and I think it's a great time to do it, especially with Ahsoka Season 2 just around the corner. It being seen in a lot of ways as a continuation of Star Wars Rebels is a great opportunity to say, hey, we're getting ready to have Star Wars Rebels kind of back in the limelight again, so let's get the Ghost Crew out there. I do kind of have a prediction to say that, like, the Ghost Crew will kind of have certain ways to synergize with other characters. I wouldn't be surprised if they have things that work well with Ahsoka, things that they give out dodge tokens. I'm not going to make too many predictions, but I think they'll have some ways to synergize with Ahsoka, at least. I think that would be a fun one. Doesn't have to be that way. Might be through a command card. Might be through some of the various mechanics that distribute tokens, something like that. I think all of those things are possible. Hondo could even benefit from that a little bit. He's got nimble, these things. Sabine has nimble, right? So like Sabine kind of indicates that maybe they want to hand out tokens. But this, of course, the existence of Sabine as a standalone unit card does sort of indicate that maybe they will be standalone characters. Or maybe they will be a group unit similar to the Bad Batch. Now, I think this is very likely. I think we very much could get a Spectre Cell card that shows something like this. I think this is a great way to get lots of heroes on screen at the same time, especially if you want to team them up with other characters. Like if you wanted to have, I think, a thematic, game would be like Ahsoka, heavily loaded out, and then you have all of the Ghost Crew here. They're not going to be in their most powerful form, and this would kind of highlight Ahsoka's power as she's, like they're there to back her up, not the other way around, right? And so, like, this would be a kind of a cool way to do it if you had a Spectre Cell card that had the equip for all of the. In the case of Spectre Cell, it would probably be 6 characters, because I am counting Chopper in that, and that's there's a lot that they could do with that. Could be a lot of fun stuff. It might be very, very similar to the Bad Batch. Now, the only thing is, I don't know if they'll go with that, because the Bad Batch also, and while I have the Republic version on screen here, there's also a Rebel version. And so that does also kind of call into the question, well, what if you have the Bad Batch and the Ghost Crew on the table at the same time? I mean, I don't think there's a problem with that, but that does mean you'd have an awful lot of named characters on the table at the same time. And again, nothing wrong with that. That's just really cool. And I wonder if that could present some balance issues. I mean, Bad Batch are very popular right now. They're very effective. And it could be something as easy as points, kind of adjusting those in a competitive format. But I wonder if they might not take this approach because of maybe perceived problems with that. They might be individual units. They might be all individual units. I think that is also a possible thing. But I also wonder if they might take a slightly different approach. Sabine, being a Mandalorian, it makes sense for her to be an individual unit. There's certain characters that might be individual units. I'm not going to speculate on Sabine too much. I want to talk a little bit about something that might be in the form of duos. What if we were to see, individual characters, but they work together? Kanan and Ezra often are on missions together in the show. Kanan and Ezra are often doing their own thing. Honestly, and I love Kanan and Ezra's relationship in this show. To me, having grown up with the original trilogy and hearing Obi-Wan tell Luke about his relationship with Anakin, how he took it upon himself to train Anakin, and how Anakin was a good friend, and all that stuff. And then watching the prequel trilogy, I kind of got a different picture with watching the prequel trilogy of how things went down versus how the original trilogy initially kind of set it up. And I always felt like Kanan and Ezra's relationship, it kind of reflected more of a kind of a storybook picture of how Obi-Wan in the original trilogy kind of painted his relationship to a young Anakin Skywalker. Seems very much like how this was, because Kanan certainly did take it upon himself to train Ezra, and he thought he could train Ezra just as good, and he struggles with that throughout the series. But they do also develop a really good friendship. And then there's definitely some, especially in this scene here with the Sith holocron, there is some temptations of the dark side. So, this was a time where I was like, man, they really captured like the original trilogy's kind of version of Master and Apprentice. So I love their relationship. I think they'd make a great duo. I don't see Kanan as having any kind of masteries, though. I don't know if he would even be Master of the Force, although it does look like they're going to go with a kind of a late season Kanan. So it's possible. I'm just not sure if they'll go with that. I do think he'll be good. I think he'll be effective. I think he'll be a little more combat effective. And I think if he's with Ezra, then they're going to be both going to be a lot better. Maybe they get to do something like Master of the Force if Ezra is with him. Like maybe their friendship and their teamwork makes them stronger. I definitely expect teamwork to be a common theme throughout this whole the entirety of the Ghost crew coming. Ezra, on the other hand, I do expect him to be late season Ezra, meaning green lightsaber. I think that I don't know if we'll have like the shooty gun version of Ezra. Let me go back a little bit, because in the image that they showed, this is specifically like, from the finale, right? So this is but the artwork is interesting because Kanan's got his eyes and stuff like that. But this is end of Star Wars Rebels Ezra. So it's not the long-haired, not the long-haired version of Ezra. So yeah, I think they'll go with this version. I don't know if they'll go with like younger kid version of Ezra. And if they do that, then he might have the blaster and then the saber. It might be a weaker attack. They may do both. They may have, again, a lot of times they're giving you two sculpts and stuff like that, especially if it's going to be like, if Ezra's going to be a standalone character, and if they're going to have the option to do that. How could they do this? They could do them two being standalone characters that just have teamwork, that work together. They could do a detachment. They could do counterpart, even. There's a lot of different ways they could do, or maybe even a new unit card that is a duo, and it just says equip Kanan, equip Ezra. I think it would be really cool if they went with a lot of different options, but that might be an unrealistic expectation, because every different permutation of different characters you try to put together in different cards is yet one more thing you have to worry about balance and affecting everything else, and everything's interconnected, right? You're not developing units in a vacuum. You have to think about how they're going to affect everybody else. So it can be more and more complicated the more different ways you do it. I'm really interested to see how they do it, though, and duos is a really cool thing, whether it's hard-coded duos, or if it's just two characters that happen to work well together with natural synergies, or if they have teamwork or counterpart or detachment or things like that, would be really cool. Another duo that should definitely happen is, I think, Hera and Chopper. I think Chopper is going to be like a typical droid, but will probably have a nice little attack. I think he'll be a little more chaotic, and maybe he has a card called War Crimes. I don't know. Hera, on the other hand, obviously Commander, obviously things like Inspire, and probably a moderately decent offensive commander, like she's decent with a blaster pistol, like maybe 3 white dice with surge to crit, pierce 1, maybe something kind of like that. Like it can be dangerous, but you still probably want to play her as a commander. I don't know. She's always been like Space Mom to me, but she's good at leading and coordinating the whole effort, and so I think she'd be tremendous. I mean, that's the reason they made her a general, right? So Hera, obvious commander slot, whereas Kanan, I don't see Kanan or Ezra as being commander. I see them as being operatives. You can make the case for Kanan to be a commander in some cases. And I think that's going to be one of those things where maybe like gameplay has to determine which role he's going to play more than theme. Because he could do both, but a large part of Kanan's character throughout the series is him kind of just saying to Hera, come on, let's abandon this thing and let's go start our lives together. I don't trust these guys. He's got reasons not to trust organizations after living through Order 66 and things like that. So he's got issues. He's damaged goods. That's what makes everything so beautiful. Why he makes it such a good story, because he learns to grow through all of this. It's very cool stuff. There's one character I haven't talked about yet, and that's Zeb. Much like Sabine, I see Zeb as being definitely his own guy. He doesn't necessarily need everybody else. You can send him off on his own. Zeb is a ideal operative, and I think he'd be very much of a melee operative, of course, with ranged options, just like Agent Callus has the bow staff. That J-19 bow rifle, whatever. I expect Zeb to have very much the same thing. He was originally, by the way, if you didn't know, I'm sure most of you do, but basically the design for Zeb was the original design for Chewbacca, and so like that's where a lot of the Ralph McQuarrie concept art and a lot of that stuff is one of those things that was a heavy inspiration for Star Wars Rebels, and that's where Zeb kind of came from. They said, hey, we didn't actually use this design. Well, let's turn that into Zeb. So he would probably have kind of a similar role to Chewbacca. I don't know if he would have Guardian, but he could. And even though I've said, right, well, Kanan and Ezra should be a duo, Hera and Chopper should be a duo, doesn't mean that none of these other characters have synergies or shouldn't work together. I mean, Ezra and Sabine go off on missions. Everybody works together. You know, Zeb and Ezra have a lot of interesting adventures together too, where they didn't like each other at first and then they grow to. Zeb and Callus should absolutely be a thing, right? We need, like, you know, so there's definitely things that should happen. If we're talking about duos, Zeb and Callus would be a really good one. Kanan and Sabine, when he's training her how to use a lightsaber. What an amazing episode. Just beautiful. I'm just saying there's all kinds of relationships. So just because I've highlighted a couple of duos here doesn't mean that that's just, you know, the only way that I think it could go. I think there's a lot of ways. I just wanted to give you guys some of my thoughts on how it could or should go. Or maybe they'll just be one big happy family. I love it. I don't think there's going to be any way that they do it that I'm going to be dissatisfied or upset, because I think there's like dozens of different ways that they could do it, and I'm eager to see what they come up with. And the beauty is that even if they come up with something and something else gets left out, doesn't mean they can't add more in the future. They give us new card packs all the time. There's PDFs, there's new ways to run stuff. They can easily come up with, like, gosh, look at, like, you can run Cassian right now as, you know, in a unit of troops and stuff like that. So, like, you know, they can always add more ways to use these characters. The important thing is, what are the models going to look like? That's a really interesting question. I don't know if we're gonna, like, and I'm really curious about Kanan and Ezra, and if we're going to get multiple head sculpts for Kanan, like with the, you know, with the visor, with the, or, you know, like sighted Kanan or blind Kanan. Are we gonna get, like, season 1 and 2 Ezra, or like late season 3 and 4 Ezra? There's a lot of questions about that. You know, Zeb doesn't usually really change. Hera doesn't really change. And Sabine changes the colors and stuff, but I mean, maybe she'll have a jetpack, maybe not. Maybe Sabine will get a little love this time. I don't know. She's already got the Darksaber, right? So and she got great command cards too. Command cards, by the way, I definitely expect Kanan to have a command card that references kind of his amazing sacrifice in season 4. I would love to see that. And also Thrawn coming into the game too, right? Is also, maybe there'll be some, I don't know, maybe there'll be some synergy there, or some counterplay there. There's a lot of really interesting things going on with all of that. I don't know if you can see it on my face, but I get real excited talking about some of my favorite Star Wars stuff, and this is definitely it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. We have a winner to announce today. So today's giveaway is some very cool alternate art cards for Star Wars Legion. These are going to be bounty hunters, and these are going to be from Drenus Art. These are, now this is the back of the card. We've got IG-88, we've got Cad Bane, and we've got Boba Fett. Now these are the first edition Legion style, but they're really cool alternate art cards. And you're getting a set of all 3 bounty hunters here. So the winner for today's giveaway is Bucci Alpha, or Bucci Alpha. I'm not sure if it's, because it's a B and it's a capital U and it's a capital C, but then lowercase hi. So I don't know if that's Bucci Alpha or Bucci Alpha. I'm not sure. But go ahead and shoot me an email at mailcrabbok@gmail.com and let me know what you've won. And then give me your shipping information. We'll get these out to you. And if you did not win, don't worry. There's plenty more giveaways coming. Lots of cool stuff. Just make sure you subscribe, leave a comment. Check the links down in the description below. You can save some, save 15% on battle foam if you're looking to keep your minis safe for travel and transport, whether you're using foam or Magnarax or all that stuff. You're definitely going to want to save, especially in helping protect your investments. So use code Crabbok VIP over there. You can join our Discord, you can join Patreon, you can join other social media stuff. All of that stuff is going to be down in the video description below. I will talk to you guys later. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world, and you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Happy holidays and happy Life Day. And I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes, and always wash your socks.